So my name is Lucas, and for my theory of knowledge presentation, I decided to do the effects of belief on knowledge. So for my real life situation, on June 11th in 2008, the Louisiana Science Education Act was passed in Louisiana, and on June 25th of the same year was signed into law by Governor Bobby Jindal. This act allows public school teachers to use supplemental materials, like non-curricular information, in the science classrooms. Some supplemental materials are critical theories such as evolution and global warming. And then some differing interpretations of this. Well, Senator Ben Nevers said that the law has been instituted in order to encourage critical thinking among students in schools. However, critics believe that it's just a way to sneak creationism into schools, which is illegal under federal law. So they think it's just a way to get, to enforce their religion in a sneaky fashion. So my path to the question, I started first by asking how will teachers possibly implementing their own religious beliefs affect what Louisiana students know to be true? And then my knowledge question is, how does faith and the faith of others affect what we know to be true in the field of natural science? So for my first development, my claim is our personal knowledge is oftentimes influenced by our faith. And to clarify, faith as a way of knowing is the complete trust or confidence in someone or something. And then some information on that is that it does not rely on proof. Indeed, proof not only isn't required, but often clashes with the knowledge it provides. It isn't accepted as a valid way of knowing. For others, it is the basis of their whole lives. And that's provided by the Theory of Knowledge website. So this guy, as you can see, is very faithful in what he's preaching. He's full on, believes in it. And then this gentleman here is not very faithful in his parachute. For the best. Okay. For example, throughout history, schizophrenia, a mental disorder linked with psychosis, has been explained through possession of the host by a demon. However, we now know it was linked to an excess of dopamine in the brain, along with hyperactivity in the temporal lobes. For a counterclaim, faith does not influence what we know, basically just the opposite. For example, early and greatly admired scientists such as Isaac Newton, we were learning about this in APIB Euro at the time, were religious people with great faith in their religion. And yet he establishes his own beliefs supported by science that made him a heretic by standards of the time. Meaning his belief, although starting at the same time, eventually varied from what was the cultural norm. So even though he had his own beliefs at first, they were eventually changed due to his findings in science. My rebuttal is that, well, while he did go against some of what he first believed, what he knew, he filled in, what he couldn't find with science, and just said that he knew it because of religion, instead of opening them up to further investigation or, leaving them open for interpretation. Okay. And so my link directly to the claim is that due to the reason that his beliefs were used in place of some science, or instead of at least leaving them open, we can see that faith does oftentimes affect what we know. And then for my second development, my claim is what we know is often affected by the shared beliefs of our culture. And for a little more clarification again, what I mean by the beliefs of others exactly is whatever environment you grow up in, whatever your family believes, whatever your friends believe, and whatever is the cultural norm. For example, you've probably noticed where you grow up greatly affects who you are and what you believe to be true. such as the fact that if you are born in Saudi Arabia, you are most likely to be Muslim. However, if you are born in Mexico, you are most likely to be Catholic. Because what you know is greatly affected by faith, and faith is greatly affected by where you are born and who you grow up around, I believe it is safe to say that the culture you grew up in, is a large part of has a great effect on what you know to be true. A counterclaim, well, one might argue that culture does not affect what you know to be true. For example, most of the United States is religious, and oftentimes, older generations typically are more religious than younger generations. But there is a portion that is not religious at all. So those people, it's a greater percentage than it used to be, so that means some people would have had to go away from what the cultural norm was within their family and just in society in general that they grew up in. The rebuttal to that is that, well, it is true that it is out of the norm to be religionless. It doesn't necessarily mean that what they believe wasn't affected at all by their environment. In fact, it is likely that their environment is what caused them to not be religious. It's not so much that it didn't push them towards religion, but it might have pushed them away from it. And then my link to the claim directly is because, as according to my previous claim, that faith does affect what we know, and our culture affects our faith, then culture in turn affects what we know. So, for conclusion, our personal knowledge is oftentimes influenced by our faith. What we know is often affected by the shared beliefs of our culture, and faith is affected by culture, which affects knowledge. Faith as a way of knowing can often be a biased way to look at the world because it is not always based on fact, but sometimes assumed to be true, simply due to its prevalence in our daily lives. Connection to the real-life situation is that the Louisiana Science Education Act, when not used to impose faith in the form of beliefs, or when not used to impose faith in the form of beliefs, as a way of knowing, may be unbiased. And what he said in the beginning could be true, that it is just there to stimulate critical thinking and not force a religion on a group of people, or not force, but impose. However, if it is used to insert beliefs of teachers into the curriculum of students, they may be teaching them stuff that isn't based on fact as defined by the Theory of Knowledge website, but instead based on faith. So, second real-life situation, I just connected it to the show The 700 Club, because I found it to be rather similar. It's basically, if you don't know what it is, it's a news station that likes to tie recent news and what's going on in real life with Christianity. And sometimes they'll use Christianity as a way to explain miraculous events. They'll use it as a form or a way of knowing through describing current situations.